why did a U.S. official tattoo infidel on his arm? Defiance
Are you?
or Islamophobia? Okay. Controversial take here. Okay.
What? I mean,
What?
isn't Islamophobia defiance anyways? Like, why not both? But yeah, go on. Okay.
¿Por qué no los dos?
Yeah.
U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth is under fire again, this time for a tattoo that reads kafir in Arabic, an Arabic term for non-believer, which some critics say sends an unmistakable message of Islamophobic provocation. The tattoo, revealed during a March visit to the Joint Base Pearl Harbor-Hickam, sparked a wave of outrage from Muslim American advocates and civil rights groups. Quote, this isn't just a personal choice. It is a clear symbol of Islamophobia from the man overseeing U.S. wars, says activist Nerdeen Kiswani. Hegseth, already controversial for past tattoos like a Crusader's cross and the phrase Deus Vult, is now facing accusations for promoting far-right Crusader aesthetics and importing those ideas into U.S. defense policy. CAIR's, meaning the Council of American Islamic Relations, executive director Nihad Awad added, quote, tattooing the Arabic word kafir is a display of both anti-Muslim hostility and personal insecurity. Well, Hegseth has not responded to the backlash. The controversy once again raises questions about the ideology and power at the highest levels of the U.S. military. So I wanted to talk about this news for a couple of reasons. One, because of this tattoo in general. And two, I wanted to talk about how the media covered this, specifically why, as the people commenting on this, the people who they quote as giving the Muslim American perspective on this are activists like Nerdeen Kiswani and Nihad Awad, who are leaders of organizations that are explicitly pro-terrorism. So I want to talk about the tattoo, and I also want to talk about how the media is saying that basically, oh, the Muslim civil rights voice is saying that this is Islamophobic, and the people that they're quoting as giving that perspective are pro-terrorism. So, and I find that problematic. So I want to call out the media a little bit. But let's get into this tattoo in general, because I find it very interesting. There are a couple different ways that this could be perceived, but Armin, first let me get your reaction.
Yeah, I'm actually pissed. The hypocrisy here. Okay, this is obviously kafirophobia. How is this Islamophobia? The whole point. So, like, guys, if you can't see the tattoo, he has it like here in the picture. He has it here. He says the word kafir. You guys can see it in the picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I want that tattoo now. I don't have a single tattoo on my body, and if I get one, I'm gonna get that one, kafir. But the point of that tattoo, where does that word come from? It comes from the Quran. The Quran constantly identifies the kafir, which is the kafir, we say in Persian, which is the unbeliever, as deserving of death and eternal fucking torture. The whole book, the entirety of the Quran is a kafirophobic, basically a phobia against kafir unbelievers through and through. And the fact that you're offended by the word, because it's not saying anything against Islam or Muslims. It's like, hey, I'm a kafir. I mean, he is a kafir. I mean, it's accurate labeling of the person. According to the Quran itself, this man is a kafir. It's a kafir.
The kuffar, 100% he does.
So he is what the tattoo says. Like, this is Quranic. The messaging on his body is Quranic. He is what he says he is according to the Quran itself. The fact that you're offended by him and who he is and that word, the fact that you see that word as something taboo and bad, shows that you guys are kafirophobic. You have phobia against unbelievers. Why is that even an insult? Why is that even a taboo word? And you're calling you're demonstrating that Islam and you guys are kafirophobic. Like, you know what it looks like? It's like Imagine if you're a whole bunch of Nazis and a Jewish person identifies himself as a Jew among you guys, and like, yeah, I'm a Jew. Like I'm a proud, like I'm gonna wear a T-shirt saying
And they're
proud
saying
Jew.
this is a provocation. This is a provocation.
Yes, like, oh my God, our Nazi the ideology. We are offended as Nazis that this person is walking around among us and just putting
Provoking us by
out-
showing his Jewishness proudly,
provoking us
openly.
by demonstrating that he's a Jew. Like, doesn't he know that that's a Jew is an offensive word to us? That's basically what's happening here.
It's so ridiculous. Can I talk about how disingenuous these people are? So one of the statements made by Nihad Awad, again the ED, the executive director of CAIR, is saying tattooing the Arabic word kafir, which refers, okay, this is how he phrases it. Armin, listen to this. This is how he phrases it, which refers to someone who knowingly denies or conceals fundamental divine truths.
Bullshit.
That's how
Fucking
he
bullshit.
defines kafir. What is not said in that statement is that the denying of the fundamental divine truth means someone who knows Islam to be true and rejects it. It's about Islam and the Quran as the divine truth. It's not just
Right.
general, oh, he's rejecting divinity or something, which
Mhm.
people who are actually like religious care about. Well, I'm not. But that I thought that framing was so dishonest.
The Quran makes it clear. Anybody who hears, knows, has any clue about the revelation of God and denies it is a kafir. The Quran has made that absolutely clear. If you know that the Quran is a thing and you do not believe in it as the revelation of God, and you do not believe in the Muhammad being the messenger of God, then you're a kafir. That's it. It's that simple. And because the Quran is very, very anti-kafir, um, a lot of Muslims, modern Muslims, again, if you go read 1,200 years worth of Islamic writing, and like the ulama, the people who did the tafsir, the hadith, it was clear about what the kafir means. But the new modern reformist Muslims are trying to say, like, no, this is somebody who has been convinced that Islam is true, but is denying it anyways as a way, because as a way to try to justify the eternal torture and the kafirophobia inside the Quran. And this is a modern interpretation that is only a few years old compared to all these years of native Arab speaking scholars looking at the Quran and coming up with the conclusion, like, no, if you hear about the Quran and you deny it, that's it, you're a kafir.
Yeah, I think Kenny is saying, then I'm a kafir. Oh, you didn't know that?
Yes. Oh,
We
yes,
all
you
are.
are. Oh, yeah.
The vast
Yes,
majority
yes,
of us here are.
yes, yes. If you're not a Muslim, you're a kafir.
Yeah. And
And if
so
in
go
fact,
ahead.
if that's their, if they're going to be offended by that, I suggest more people, um if you don't want to get a tattoo, get a coffer T-shirt. You know what? We should make a coffer T-shirt. How about that? And
We
sell it
should.
on our channel. Yeah, we should do that. Yeah.
Dude, there's so many things about the way that they framed this that I find so dishonest. The idea that this tattoo is a provocation is so it frustrates me because it's so clear that what people don't understand is like, especially to the mind of an Islamist, the existence of a kafir like having freedoms in their own land is itself a provocation. Not even like any aggression, right? But the but the existence of these freedoms in and of itself like is the provocation. I so it's just so rich to me. It's so rich to me. And what I think, but let's look at it from a different angle. Like, is there anything about this critique that maybe is like legit? Okay, let's think about it. Some would say that in his position as the US Defense Secretary, like displaying this kind of tattoo is inappropriate because he has thousands of Muslim Americans within his ranks that, this could be like offensive to them, blah blah blah. Or because actually there's Muslim Americans are disproportionately represented in our armed forces. Um and then other people could say, look, this the whole kafir tattoo thing is actually pretty common among veterans of the war on terror. And so people who are familiar with like the veteran community, there's a lot of like merch that they have that it has infidel things because it became kind of a word of defiance for people who were fighting like the jihadi threat like on the front lines. Like I remember I went through a phase where I was watching a lot of interviews with veterans from the war on terror. And there was this one guy who was in the special forces and he was talking about his experience of watching videos of ISIS members crucify a Filipino truck driver who had been contracted to work in Iraq. And that truck driver was taken and crucified on the side of the road. And watching the video of it because this was after he had gone on a mission to go find the people that did that and eliminate them. And when after he had completed the mission, he was like asking his superior, like, why did you want me to go after that guy in particular? And then that's when they showed him the video after the fact. And they were like, yeah, no, I'm facing pure evil. I'm going as hard as I can in absolute defiance against everything I'm seeing right now. So, for someone in their armed
Right.
forces, like the idea of like that man that he watched being crucified, like that happened because he's a kafir. Like I'm a kafir. Like I'm in opposition to this. I'm in defiance of this. So it kind of
Mm.
became like that word kind of became more common and so that's why you see it kind of on in the veteran community more. Now some people would say, oh, no, this is clearly more of a far right thing because one, they always point to one of the Proud Boys, the leader of the Proud Boys, who also was a vet from Afghanistan having a kafir tattoo. And they point to examples of men that were in the English Defense League, using a lot of like kafir imagery or kafir tattoos. And so they say that this is all part of a far right thing. Other people are pointing to Pete Hegseth's other tattoos and his whole vibe, which is very like crusadery vibe. um, and so I think that's a more like on the spectrum of um legitimate criticism. I think that's like a more legitimate criticism and they're like, look, there's a whole vibe going on here and this whole vibe is giving a very clear message of like crusader clash of civilizations um messaging, um which is a aesthetic that is becoming more popular in certain circles right now because they certain people, Christian nationalists, there's many different kinds. I'm not going to categorize into one label, but do see a lot of stuff going on in the world as a attack upon Christian civilization, Christendom. And so they adopt a lot of imagery of like previous crusades and stuff as part of their identity and kind of their aesthetic and what they put forward. Um and some people see that as inherently oppositional to Muslims. And I would say personally I think it's more inherently oppositional to Islam because Islam as an idea is inherently oppositional to them. Um
Can
but
I
I do find a lot of like
mention?
the Crusader LARPing pretty cringe.
Yeah, but I like the kafir tattoo. And I also want to mention that people say like, oh, but he's commanding over Muslims, and there are many Muslims within his rank, and some that they might find it offensive. Would they say the same thing if he had a Star of David tattoo,
He actually does have
because
Hebrew tattoos. He has Hebrew tattoos.
yeah, yeah, but did they say no, no, no? Like forget him. Let's say another commander who had a Star of David necklace or a Star of David tattoo. I mean, when it comes to being what Islam is against, kafirs, murtads, and Jews are on the top of the list. Okay, and I would think like actually murtads and Jews are actually above kafirs when it comes to how aggressively Islam. So I think the highest people Islam is against would be murtads at the top, and then the Jews, and then the kafir, right? So, by the way, proud Mortad right here. Mortad means apostate, by the way, for people who don't know. So if somebody, so given that being Jewish, a Jew is more offensive than being a kafir, so should somebody who has a Jewish tattoo not like be commanding over the Muslims in the army? Like somebody to explain, like it's just too. It's not politically correct to say that because we have successfully demonstrated how disgusting being anti-Jewish is. We need to just be more, do more activism to also stigmatize, to also make sure that people understand that kafirophobia and murtadophobia, which is also both of them have deep roots in Islam, are as vile and disgusting as anti-Semitism. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and it's like a new tattoo, by the way, because his tattoos had like previously caused controversy. And this is just kind of a new reveal in some like social media posts he made. Um, and by the way, as someone who is tattooed, I have respect for the placement. People might not know this, but this is like that's a very painful place to get tattooed, and it's bold and it's just black work. So for the nature of the tattoo itself, I'm like, I know that was painful. Respect. Um, yeah, it's a very painful place to get tattooed, and also the just the type of the tattoo itself. Anyways, so I don't know. When taken within the whole Crusader vibe, I kind of get like some people being like, "What the hell?" But the actual critique from Nerdeen Kiswani and Nihad Awad, excuse me, that was promoted pissed me off so much because I'm like, you guys have a lot of nerve being tapped to give the Muslim civil rights perspective when you guys are explicitly pro-terrorism. Like, for example, Nihad Awad publicly celebrated the October 7th attack, saying the people of Gaza only decided to break the siege, the walls of the concentration camp on October 7th. Yes, I was happy to see the people breaking the siege and throwing down the shackles of their own land, walk free into their own land, which they were not allowed to walk in. And yes, the people of Gaza have a right to self defense and the right to defend themselves. And yes, so yeah, in he's he called the Gazans were victorious. Israel did not scare them because they knew their heaven is in Gaza and they would like to die. They will go to another heaven. This is the faith of the people of Gaza. Um, Not to mention the fact that CAIR is an unindicted co-conspirator in a case involving literally funding Hamas. I also want to point out the statements of Nerdeen Kiswani. If people are not familiar with the work of Within Our Lifetime or WOL as they're known, they are a nasty group. They are one of the nastiest pro-Palestine groups in the US. Um, this is a group that has made statements such as supporting Palestinian liberation is supporting by whatever means necessary it takes to get there. We must defend the Palestinian right to resist Zionist settler violence and support Palestinian resistance in all of its forms by any means necessary, with no exceptions and no fine print. So that's an explicit endorsement of terrorism. Um, Here's another statement endorsing campaigns of destruction in the United States. Our duty as people here in the belly of the beast is to use all available means to support the Palestinian resistance, which is just another way of saying Hamas, by the way, and degrade the capabilities of the United States to wage war, not just on Palestine, but oppressed peoples all over the world. So I
She
just
also
get
refused
pissed
to
when I
condemn
see these
Hamas.
2 people, like these 2 people being pulled by the media to like give statements on what is the Muslim American perspective on civil rights. Like it's so
Right.
rich.
Yeah. I mean, they're supporting the October 7th, which like one of the most brutal, disgusting acts of terror in our lifetime. These people are supporting it, and they're not talking. And they come here and talk to us about civil rights. By the way,
Yeah. And they
um,
come talk to us
can
about provocation. Provocation. This is Islamophobic.
right? Can I just mention? I'm going to mention
Yeah, go
something
ahead, go
about
ahead.
the crusade thing. I mean, I also kind of find it cringe. I agree with Susie on that they're doing the whole crusade thing. As an atheist, I find it cringe. However, finally, like I just want to clarify, cringe is such a much unimportant, milder thing compared to murderous, rapist, terrorists, right? So I just want to I just want people to
Let's
get their
put this in
priority
perspective.
in your. Let's put this in perspective. Like, so for example, if I'm being feel threatened by Islamists, terrorists, violence, a gang of violent Islamists, and I see a whole bunch of other men with Crusader tattoos or costumes or whatever, you can bet that walking in their direction and relying on, like, I'm gonna, right now I might file like I'm gonna like, oh yeah, this is cringe. But if I'm in a situation where there's a whole bunch of Islamists who want to come and kill you or cause you, do you harm, if I see a group of people who are claim to be
Want to dress
Crusaders,
like
I would
Knights
be happy.
Templar?
Yes, I would be like, "Oh, I'm so happy to see you guys right here, right now." Right, so there's that. Like, just like let's put things in perspective.
It's
Yeah.
oh my gosh. It's I don't some of the content I find from these crusade types is like so weird. It sometimes goes into like overtly anti-Semitic territory. Um yeah, but they have this attitude that I sometimes find amusing. Like they often bring up the Reconquista of Spain because they'll talk about like the demographics of Europe and they're like, fuck, it's so over. And then they're like, bring up the Reconquista. They're like, it took 700 years. It's never over. It's never over. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
Dude,
True,
people
true.
never talk about the Reconquista's decolonization.
Oh,
People
they
never talk
do
about the
when
Reconquista's decolonization.
Muslims do that. Muslims do that a lot.
Well, that's just because they're butthurt. Because they want
Yes, they
Al-Andalus.
keep using it as a warning sign. Like, this is what degeneracy, this is when Islamic values drop in society. That's how they use it to eventually come and take your empire from underneath you without you noticing. This is how the Zionists and the Christians conspire because they know that they cannot fight the Islamic might. So they come and destroy the foundations of family. They come spread alcohol and swine and degeneracy in the land. And eventually they come get you. So that's how they do it. So
Okay, but have you seen what
I
the
mean,
Spanish can do with pork? Masters. Masters of
yes,
pork.
yes.
Oh,
but
sorry, I'm
that's how
just
they think they
fan
will get you.
speaking right now.
That the whole point, like a lot of Muslims think like opposition to, I don't know, degeneracy and alcohol and pork is not just about these things being haram. These things are the values that hold society together, and Allah knew that this is what holds society together. So if you're strong, if you're an strong Islamic society, the way of the enemy is to first come and take your values away, and then basically make all everything you build the base of it weak, and then it will attack you. So when you're defending, when you're When you're fighting against all of these sins, you're actually also trying to keep the Islamic society together. And they use
Yeah.
this historic event as an example of what happened to them before, even though actually, if you go look at the details, none of these happened. Like, it wasn't, they can't, didn't, like, they just, it's made up history.
No.
Yeah.
Calvin is saying
We
modern
should do
far
that.
right neo-reactionary and nativists are modern crusaders, no different from jihadis. And this is the thing.
Oh, they're
I
very
think,
different.
well, no, I think part of the reason why some of this Crusader vibe really does play into like nasty nativism, which I really, really don't like. I think that's kind of one of my main roots of like my problem with
I
it.
don't like it either, but they're not the same, like, they're not the same level of threat. You know what I mean? Like, they are, yeah, there's something that we could complain about, but we shouldn't put them in the same category.
No.
Yeah. It's like a cold and cancer. Like, they're both diseases, they're both annoying, but they are on completely different levels.
Anyways,
Yeah.
so let's go
We
through
should,
the
so,
comments.
oh, there we go. This, I should have
Yeah,
scrolled down. This makes
kafir
it
equals
coffee.
non-believer, non-Muslim. It's like, yeah, he is.
Yeah, and what's your problem with that? Okay, this is, oh no, this guy doesn't have a problem. This guy is saying, okay, this is awesome. Okay, yeah, okay, good. In fact, shouldn't you be happy that he has Arabic? That shows that this man is not a racist. He's just a kafir. He has Arabic letters on his body. So he's like, this is anti-Islam and pro-Arab. This is pretty based. What is this? Oh yeah, he was
So
exercising.
because they were doing like burpees, and that's how they were
Oh yeah,
able to like see the screenshot. They were like enhance, kafir.
enhance. Okay, what is this guy saying?
Um,
Oh,
most probably he is this is some Muslim Satan. Most probably he is a Satan worshiper, believer of the one God. Wouldn't have such tattoos. Well, yeah, because he's a Christian. He's a professed, passionate Christian.
these people, I don't even know how. I don't need. These people. We do not require. Like, we do not need to make fun of these people, because just reading their comments is enough to be making fun of them. That's all you need to do. You don't know no other comments needed. But yeah, let's just.
This person is saying this is stupid and immature.
The Quran? Yes, I
No, no,
agree.
no,
The
no, no.
Quran
Like his
labeling.
tattoo, I think she's saying.
I know
Because
I'm
that
making
actually
fun of her.
reminds me, the guy who runs CAIR said that this tattoo is a sign of anti-Muslim hostility and personal insecurity.
That's basic. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. The core that shows if you're. What is the sign again? Susie mentioned personal insecurity and
Anti-Muslim hostility and personal insecurity.
okay, hostility and insecurity. That's exactly correct, but not about him, but the origin of this, the Quran identifying kafirs. I mean, if you read the Quran cover to cover, you come up with this conclusion that one of the words that is repeated more than any other word in the Quran is the word kafir. And sometimes out of nowhere, the God all of a sudden talks about kafir. He's like, oh, like Moses did this, and then he went there, and by the way, fuck the kafirs. I'm gonna fuck them up in the afterlife. They're gonna have the worst time ever. And then you go all of a sudden change the topic to another topic that is like doesn't seem relevant, and all of a sudden out of nowhere, God just jumped like, by the way, just a reminder, mid story. I know this is not relevant. We'll get back to our programming very soon, but just a reminder that kafirs are horrible, and I am very, very angry with them, and I'm going to fuck them up, and I'm going to fucking destroy them forever and ever and ever and ever. Okay, back to the story, right?
We'll be
so
right back.
if you read the yeah. Right. So if you read the Quran, you're like, oh my God, the writer of this book is like really pissed off. Like you'll notice a lot of hostility towards kafirs and it sometimes comes off as insecure. Like it shows that the Quran, the writers of the Quran were very insecure about whoever didn't believe in the text that you were reading, right? So the whole word kafir, I mean, now we call kafirs like Christians, Jews, atheists, everybody, but the Quran makes it clear. I'm talking about people who don't believe in the words that you're reading right now. So it just seemed to me like if you read it, it seems like it's telling you something, and then all of a sudden you're like, what if somebody doesn't believe this? Fuck whoever doesn't believe this. Okay, let's go continue, right? So it just comes off as very, very insecure. So when people describe that this whole word kafir uh, is like shows insecurity and hostility, I agree, but not for the people who are reacting to the Quran. It's hostility and insecurity from the Quran itself. But yeah,
I think it's, I don't know. There's a pretty normal cultural understanding that people who have been like abused with a slur oftentimes reclaim that slur and they're like, "Yes, I am that.
yes,
And I'm proud of
I
it."
am
You
that. Yeah,
know, this is so
yeah,
common in so many different communities. Yes, I
yes,
am. And what?
yes. Yeah. What are you gonna do about it? Yeah, you hate the kafirs. Well, I'm a kafir. I'm a kafir. What are you gonna do? Yeah.
Like, are they gonna say this to the Iranian ex-Muslim girl that I know, like running around wearing a shirt that says infidel? Like they are.
Yeah, I mean, they did that themselves when they say like Islamophobia is rising. They're like, okay, I used to hide my Muslim identity. Now I'm gonna come and say I'm a Muslim. You know what? You know what? Actually, how about this? I'm an Islamophobe. Okay, so you identifying as a Muslim is offensive to me as a proud Islamophobe, and also the fact that you are mentioning that you're a Muslim is just hostile to me as a proud Islamophobe, and it
Well,
just shows
it's
you're
hostile to
so
you as an ex-Muslim.
as hostile to me as an ex-Muslim, and also the fact that you keep bragging about you're a Muslim, you're a Muslim, you're a Muslim. In a world that most people are not Muslim, it's just to me comes off as insecure. How about that? You could brag about, how come you could brag about being a Muslim and that's like okay, and people brag about not being a Muslim and all of a sudden that's wrong? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. John is funny. He's saying, I've seen Muslim commentators say, like, yeah, we need to tone it down with the use of kafir.
Yeah, I mean you can because it's the half of your Quran.
Well,
I don't know how you're gonna do that, but yeah, but this
oh, this person's making a joke. Like, with all those tattoos, why is he in the El Salvador prison?
oh because it's not the right tattoos.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is actually a good reminder. Be careful about what kind of tattoos you guys get.
Yes, yes, yes.
It's no joke.
Make sure it's not a gang tattoo.
Yeah. Um, the placement is also very important for that kind of thing. Um, so let's go through the super chats. Durga gave a super chat saying the irony of a kafir tattoo being Islamophobic, but calling someone a kafir not being kafirophobic. Is the media dumb or
I
willfully cowardly? In this case, I'm gonna say dumb. I'm gonna say dumb because actually
don't.
most journalists, when I'm talking about how problematic it is to like quote these specific, figures, most journalists have no idea like the nature and the statements that these kinds of people make and what they support. But they just looked up like, oh, I needed someone who gave comment on this representing the Muslim side. Okay, who did? Blah blah blah. And this is how like Islamists get so like mainstreamed into media. Um,
Right.
because they just don't know. Because they're busy and pressed for time. Um, Noam gave 15 shekels. Thank you, saying heard about this story. Oh, meaning the kidnapping story. Sent it to a friend who lives nearby and he said he hasn't heard a word in the local media and he follows closely. I know it's super weird that this got almost no coverage.
Yeah.
Um that's part of why I wanted to talk about it. Occasion is saying, should I embrace my Mongol ancestry and civilize the West with mandated noonday naps? They need to play Dungeons and Dragons to get that LARPing itch scratched. I mean, look, I if you came in mandated naps, I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to complain at all.
Mm.
Also, I don't know, like what remains of Mongol culture and ancestry is freaking cool. In fact, speaking of, yesterday, no, 2 days ago, I was talking to Armin extensively about how I've gotten really into music from Kazakhstan.
Yes.
And
Yes.
when they
Yes.
celebrate Nowruz in Kazakhstan, they like wear these like super like Mongol outfits. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Um, well, more of that, please. Gingosaurus gave a super chat thank you saying, could it be that they brought those two to give bad PR to the Muslims in America? It's like bringing in the most crazy person in the room to represent it. No, 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 no. You don't understand. This is like literally just presented as this is the opinion of a Muslim civil rights organization to give it legitimacy.
It's
Like
that
the
bad,
it
Kinga.
this is not like a, oh, we're trying to give them bad PR. It's the opposite. It's like this is legitimizing. Um because like I said, most people don't know and understand like the character of who they're dealing with in many of these instances. It requires a lot of like media education. Gaijin gave another super chat saying I've seen many white supremacists call themselves Gentiles. Yeah, 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 yeah. This is the whole thing, like the Goyim Defense League, who are trying to say, like, yeah, we're goys, like, and they're super crazy anti-Semitic. The Goyim Defense League is one of the worst, like, white supremacist groups operating in the US. Um, uh, yeah, so the whole oftentimes the most aggressive, it's less about the Gentiles calling themselves Gentiles and more about like being like, yeah,
Yep.
well, I'm a goy.
The problem with that is that we don't have like and Jewish oppressing non-Jew. Like if we lived in a
Well, but they
society where
think
there
that there is. That's the problem.
they yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, if we lived in a world where there were a Jewish authority like being anti all non-Jews, okay, I would actually support that tattoo. But we don't live in that world, and that's why this is like imaginary victimhood narrative. And but they think the world is controlled by Jews, so that's why they do that. Yeah.
hmm Um, and ooh, wait, no, I'm sorry, I didn't finish this one. Get a blasphemous tattoo in every alphabet, and then included many languages that I cannot pronounce. Uh, but yeah, there's artistic potential there. Equal opportunity offender. Gaijin gave another super chat saying, I'm looking for wedding hanfu right now. So for those who don't know, this is like the traditional like Chinese wedding outfit. I consciously chose Tang Dynasty styles, embracing cosmopolitanism over Han and Ming Dynasty styles. Dude, it's so cool. So cool. For those who don't know, I'm like super into like kind of folk art, folk culture, textiles from around the world. I find it so fascinating and beautiful. So I'm into this, man. Um, like choosing to do like a traditional wedding with like the
Susie
local
has some
traditional
niche
costumes. I think that's so
interests,
cool.
guys.
I have some niche interests, man.
You have, yeah, you don't even know half of it. Yeah.
Asian, everything Armin has to hear about this all the time. But it has some benefits. Me binging Kazakh music this week. Now my boyfriend is listening and singing to Kazakh music in the shower.
Sometimes Susie goes and finds this Bandari music in southern Iran about this artist that like, and she listens to it, and then she comes to me and talks to me about like the music theory behind it, and I don't know, some technical things of like most Iranians don't even know. And she's talking to me about the details about the and the history of that specific niche art in Iran, in southern Iran. I was like, what the? How does she know? Like what? Like, and then she keeps and not. Can I tell on you? Not only
Yeah.
did she goes and investigates this, then she finds a specific local artist and then she goes, and because she can't get their merch, she goes and
Because they don't
makes
send merchandise
her,
to US.
yeah, so she goes, creates her own fan merch of that artist, and she's right now in the process of making a t-shirt for herself of that
Yeah.
artist because she can't directly buy their merch. Oh my god, we should do a stream on this.
Dude,
I'm
Mazak
like,
is saying,
wow.
yes, I really want to visit Tajikistan one day. Me too.
Yeah.
I'm literally like, I need to go to Uzbekistan like badly, man.
God.
No, it's so true though. You know, I'm on this deep level where like sometimes Armin will show, you know, videos of like in Iran people like dancing in the street as it being like a symbol of defiance, right? Like I can tell what city that video was filmed in because of the way that they're dancing.
I can't. She can't. I'm like, she's like,
Yeah,
oh,
I'm
I
like,
know where
oh,
this is, like,
like this is
based on the
they're dancing
dance.
like Azaris. This is in Tabriz. This is clearly in Tabriz. Like
Right. I'm like, Jesus, okay.
it's I don't know. I think it's because this is like, oh yeah, someone is saying Susanna finds awesome music. I see her Instagram stories and they become my favorite songs. Guys, go follow me on Instagram. Link in the description. And my foreign recommendations like Shapur. Freaking awesome. Uh
Hmm.
this is just something that I'm so passionate about because it's like it's a real source of enrichment in my life. Like I really find that it enriches my life, and so I'm just a nerd. Um, but yeah, I go way too deep. I go way too deep.
Highlight that
Anyways,
comment. That's the
what is
no,
it?
wait.
Oh no, that was
Susie
just that was just
so
for us because I thought that was funny.
oh, okay.
So,
I love
anyways,
it.
speaking of Central Asia, okay. Again, I am
Yeah.
passionate that Central Asia is criminally undervalued in terms of culture.
Do you know who makes the most amazing, gorgeous, and other adjectives that I can't use here on YouTube, blasphemous art ever? We do! And for some reason, we are giving it away for free. Download them now using the link in the description before we change our mind.